The unexpected visitor. The amber sunrise of Kepler 442b painted the rocky horizon in shades of gold and crimson, as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos completed her morning patrol around mining Outpost 7. The remote facility hummed with quiet efficiency, its automated systems extracting precious minerals from the planet's crust, while a skeleton crew of 12 humans maintained operations. Maria had been stationed here for 8 months and the isolation was starting to wear on everyone. The planet was supposed to be lifeless. That's what the survey reports had said when the Terran Mining Consortium established the Outpost 3 years ago. No complex life forms, no sentient species, just rocks and minerals waiting to be harvested. Maria had seen enough dead worlds to know what emptiness looked like, and Kepler 442b fit the description perfectly. That's why the proximity alarm made everyone freeze. Sergeant Santos to the command center. Priority 1. Crackled through her. Comm unit. Maria jogged across the compound, her boots crunching on the crystalline sand that covered everything on this world. Inside the command center, Technician James Wright was hunched over the sensor array, his face pale with confusion. "What do you have, Wright?" Maria asked, sliding into the chair next to him. "Something's coming in fast from the Northern Canyon system," Wright said, pointing at the display. A small blip moved erratically across the screen, weaving through the rocky formations like a drunken bird. "It's organic, Sergeant. Definitely alive, but the readings don't match anything in our database." Maria studied the sensor data. The object was small, roughly the size of a house cat, but its energy signature was unlike anything she'd seen. There were traces of what looked like bioluminescence, and the temperature readings suggested it was running hot, possibly fevered. "How fast is it moving?" she asked. "Started at about 60 kilometers per hour, but it's slowing down rapidly." "Whatever it is, it's exhausted," Wright replied. He adjusted the sensors for a closer look. "Sergeant, I'm reading neural activity. Complex neural activity. This thing might be intelligent." Maria felt her pulse quicken. First contact protocols were clear, but they were written for planned encounters, not crash landings on supposedly dead worlds. She made a decision that would change everything. "Sound general quarters, but keep weapons powered down. I want everyone alert but not aggressive," she ordered. "And Wright, get me a direct line to Commander Hayes." The command center filled with the soft chime of the general alarm. Through the reinforced windows, Maria could see her team taking positions along the perimeter wall. These were good people, experienced miners and security personnel who'd worked dangerous worlds before, but none of them had ever dealt with first contact. Commander Hayes appeared on the communication screen, his weathered face showing concern. "What's the situation, Sergeant?" "Unknown life form approaching the outpost, sir. Small, possibly intelligent, and in distress. Requesting permission to render aid if necessary." Hayes was quiet for a long moment. "Maria, you know the regulations about uncontacted species. One wrong move could trigger a diplomatic incident we're not prepared for." "Sir, if this creature is intelligent and we let it die without helping, what does that say about humanity?" Maria replied. "Besides, it's heading straight for us. That suggests it's seeking help, not looking for a fight." Before Hayes could respond, Wright called out urgently, "Sergeant, it's down. Crashed about 200 meters from the main gate." Maria was already moving. "Commander, I need to make a field decision here. I'm going out there." "Maria, wait." She cut the connection and grabbed her emergency medical kit. Outside, the alien creature lay motionless in the crystalline sand, and Maria's breath caught in her throat. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. The creature was indeed about the size of a cat, but its form was unmistakably draconic. Delicate wings, now folded and trembling, stretched from its shoulders. Its scales shifted color as she watched, cycling through deep purples, silver, and hints of blue, like an aurora made solid. A long, serpentine neck ended in a head that was both reptilian and somehow expressive. Most striking were its eyes, which opened as she approached. They were like looking into deep space, filled with swirling galaxies and ancient wisdom. "Easy, there, little one," Maria whispered, kneeling slowly. The dragon didn't try to flee or attack. Instead, It made a soft trilling sound that somehow conveyed exhaustion and hope in equal measure. She activated her medical scanner and ran it over the creature. The readings were fascinating and heartbreaking. No toxins, no diseases, but severe dehydration and exhaustion. There were also old burn marks along its wing membranes, suggesting it had escaped from something terrible. As Maria reached out carefully, the dragon did something impossible. It spoke, not with words, but directly, into her mind. "Please." The mental voice was young and frightened, like a child's whisper. "They took my family. I flew so far to find you." Maria's hands trembled as she gently scooped up the dragon. It weighed almost nothing, its body fevered and fragile. "Who took your family?" she asked, not sure if she was speaking aloud or thinking. Images flooded her consciousness. Massive ships with organic curves and pulsing veins like living nightmares. Creatures in mechanical suits dragging larger dragons into cargo holds. The sound of desperate roars cut short by energy weapons. And through it all, the sight of this baby dragon hiding in the rocks, watching its world collapse. The Vex Syndicate. The dragon's mental voice grew weaker. "They harvest my people for their bioships. Use our life force to power their war machines. I am Echo. I am the last free one of my clutch." Maria's blood ran cold. She'd heard whispers of the Vex Syndicate in security briefings. A criminal organization that dealt in biological weapons and slave trading, operating on the fringes of known space. They were ruthless, efficient, and until now, Maria had never seen evidence of their work firsthand. "How did you know to come here?" she asked, carrying Echo toward the Outpost's medical bay. "Ancient memories," Echo replied. "Stories passed, down through generations. Humans who fight slavers, humans who protect the weak. My grandmother told tales of the Great Alliance when dragons and humans stood together against the darkness." Maria had never heard of any Great Alliance, but something in Echo's words resonated with a truth she couldn't explain. As she entered the medical bay, her team gathered around, their faces filled with wonder and concern. "Sergeant," Wright said softly. "What is it?" "This is Echo," Maria replied, gently placing the dragon on the examination table. "And we're going to help him." Dr. Sarah Chen, the Outpost's medic, approached with professional calm despite the unprecedented situation. "What do we know about its physiology?" "The scanner readings suggest it's carbon-based, similar metabolic processes to Earth reptiles but with significant differences," Wright reported. "The neural complexity is off the charts. This creature is definitely sapient." As Dr. Chen began her examination, Echo's mental voice reached out to all of them. "You must understand. The Vex are coming to this sector. They follow the trade routes, harvesting everything in their path. Your species will be next if they are not stopped." Maria felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "What do you need us to do?" "There is a place." Echo's thoughts carried images of vast underground caverns filled with crystalline formations. The sanctuary of memories, hidden on this world, deeper than your mining equipment reaches. My people built it long ago as a refuge. If I can reach it, I can access the ancient knowledge stored there. Learn how to fight the Vex as our ancestors did. Dr. Chen looked up from her scanner. "Sergeant, this creature is severely malnourished and exhausted, but I think I can stabilize its condition. However, it needs rest and proper nutrition." "What do you eat?" Maria asked Echo gently. "Crystals," came the reply. "The living crystals. They grow deep in planetary cores. They sing with the music of creation, and we draw sustenance from their harmony." Wright's eyes widened. "The resonance crystals from the deep shafts. We've been pulling them up as byproducts of the mining operation. I thought they were just pretty rocks with unusual vibrational properties." "They are life itself," Echo explained. "Each crystal contains the memory of the world's formation. That is why the Vex want to harvest them, and us. Together, dragons and crystals can power technologies beyond your current understanding." Maria made another decision that would change everything. "Right. Gather every resonance crystal we have in storage. Dr. Chen, prepare a recovery area for our guest, and someone get me that direct line to Commander Hayes again." As her team sprang into action, Maria sat beside Echo, whose breathing was becoming steadier. Rest now. We're going to help you find this sanctuary, and we're going to stop the Vex. Echo's eyes flickered with something that might have been gratitude. You truly are like the stories say. My grandmother was right about humans. You burn bright with the fire of justice even when it cost you everything. Maria smiled grimly. We haven't always lived up to that reputation, but we're trying to do better. And no child, human or dragon, should lose their family to slavers. As Echo finally allowed himself to sleep, Maria stared out at the alien landscape and wondered what she had set in motion. The Vex Syndicate was a threat she'd never imagined facing, and now she was committed to helping a baby dragon access ancient knowledge that could change the balance of power in this sector of space. But as she watched Echo's peaceful breathing and remembered the terror in those galactic eyes, Maria knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant ignoring protocols and following your heart. And her heart told her that this little dragon was worth fighting for, no matter what came next. The first part of their incredible journey was just beginning. The journey to truth. 3 days after Echo's arrival, mining Outpost 7 had transformed from a routine operation into something resembling a war room. Maria had spent hours on encrypted communications with Commander Hayes and his superiors, arguing for permission to explore Echo's claims about the underground sanctuary. The response from Earth had been predictably bureaucratic. File reports, await further instructions, and under no circumstances should they deviate from standard first contact protocols. Maria had respectfully ignored every word of it. Echo was stronger now, his scales bright with renewed health after feeding on the resonance crystals. The dragon had eaten nearly their entire stockpile, but the improvement in his condition was remarkable. More importantly, his telepathic abilities had grown stronger, allowing him to share more detailed memories of his people and their history. The sanctuary lies 3 kilometers below the deepest mining shaft, Echo explained, his mental voice clear and determined. But the entrance is hidden behind what you call a dead-end cavity in Sector 7. Wright pulled up the geological surveys on his display. That's the area we abandoned last month. The rock formations down there are incredibly dense, almost impossible to penetrate with our equipment. Not impossible, Echo corrected. The dragons who built the sanctuary used harmonic frequencies to shape the stone. The crystals sing the walls open for those who know the ancient songs. Dr. Chen looked skeptical. You're talking about using sound waves to alter solid rock. That's not possible with our current understanding of physics. Echo's laugh was like wind chimes in Maria's mind. Your understanding is limited by what you can see. The universe is alive with frequencies you cannot hear, energies you cannot measure. Dragons learned to work with these forces long before your species discovered fire. Maria studied the geological data, noting several anomalies in the deep caverns that the mining survey had dismissed as sensor errors. How long would it take to reach the sanctuary? If we can access the entrance, perhaps 6 hours to reach the memory chamber, Echo replied. But Maria, you must understand what we might find there. The knowledge stored in the sanctuary is not just information, it is living memory, passed down through thousands of generations. Some of it may be overwhelming for human minds. We'll deal with that when we get there, Maria said firmly. Right now, we need to focus on getting down there without alerting the Vex to our activities. As if summoned by her words, Wright's communication array began chirping urgent warnings. Sergeant, we're getting massive energy signatures from the edge of the system. Multiple ships. Definitely not human design. Maria's blood chilled as she read the sensor data. 7 large vessels had just dropped out of hyperspace, their bio-organic hulls pulsing with malevolent energy. The Vex Syndicate had arrived. How? Long before they reach us? She asked, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. At their current speed, maybe 18 hours, Wright replied. But if they deploy smaller ships? 6 hours, Echo finished, his mental voice tight with ancient terror. The hunter-killers move fast. They will scan this world thoroughly, looking for any trace of my people. Maria made the hardest decision of her military career. Right, send a priority message to Commander Hayes. Tell him the Vex Syndicate has arrived and we're implementing emergency protocols. Chen, gather medical supplies and emergency rations for an extended underground expedition. We're going into the sanctuary and we're going now. Sergeant, Dr. Chen protested, we don't even know if the sanctuary exists. You're risking the entire team based on the word of a child who flew across hostile space to ask for our help, Maria interrupted. And right now that child is our best chance of survival. The Vex aren't here for mining rights, Doctor. They're here for Echo and anyone who might have helped him. As her team prepared for the descent, Maria helped Echo into a specially modified carrier that would keep him safe during the journey into the deep tunnels. The dragon's trust in her was absolute, and the weight of that responsibility felt heavier than her military gear. The elevator ride to the bottom of the mining shaft took 20 minutes. As they descended, Echo began to hum, a sound that resonated through both air and stone. The crystals embedded in the tunnel walls began to glow in response, creating a light show that made the industrial elevator feel like a journey through a fairy tale. The stones remember, Echo explained. They know we are coming home. At the bottom of the shaft, the mining tunnel stretched into darkness. Echo directed them to what appeared to be a solid wall of granite, unmarked by any mining equipment. Here, he said simply. Maria approached the wall, her scanner showing nothing but dense rock. I don't see any entrance. Echo began to sing, a sound that bypassed human ears and spoke directly to something deeper. The crystals in the walls responded, their harmonies joining his voice in a song older than human civilization. As the music swelled, the granite began to change, not melting or breaking but flowing like water, revealing a passage that had been hidden for millennia. Holy Mother of God, Wright whispered, his scientific worldview cracking at the edges. The tunnel beyond was clearly artificial, its walls smooth and lined with crystalline formations that provided their own light. Ancient runes covered every surface, telling stories in a language that predated human writing. As they walked deeper, the air grew warmer and filled with a subtle energy that made Maria's skin tingle. The memory chamber is just ahead, Echo said, his excitement growing. Can you feel it? The wisdom of ages waiting to be awakened. They emerged into a cavern so vast that their lights couldn't reach the far walls. The floor was covered in an intricate mosaic depicting dragons and humans, fighting side by side against creatures that looked disturbingly like the Vex ships Maria had seen on sensors. At the center of the chamber stood a pillar of pure crystal, easily 10 meters tall and pulsing with inner light. The memory stone, Echo breathed. Everything my people ever learned is stored within its structure. As Echo approached the pillar, it began to resonate with his presence. Images appeared in its crystalline depths, showing the long history of his people. Maria watched in fascination as scenes of an ancient war played out in living light. Dragons and humans, working together with technology that seemed like magic, fighting against a plague of biomechanical invaders. The first Vex War, Echo explained, his voice filled with inherited grief. My ancestors and yours stood together against the darkness, but we grew complacent after our victory. We thought the threat was ended forever. The images shifted, showing the gradual separation of the two species. Dragons retreating to hidden worlds. Humans spreading across the galaxy, both forgetting the alliance that had saved them. Then came darker images. Vex ships returning, stronger and more numerous than before, harvesting entire civilizations while the galaxy stood divided and unprepared. But the knowledge remains, Echo said, pressing his small form against the crystal pillar. The weapons that can stop them, the strategies that can defeat their bioships, the unity that makes both our species stronger. Light exploded from the pillar, washing over all of them. Maria gasped as information flooded her mind. Star charts showing hidden Vex strongholds, technical specifications for weapons that could disrupt their bioorganic technology, and most importantly, the location of a Vex prison ship where Echo's family was being held. The harvest vessel consumption. Echo's mental voice was tight with hope and fear. They are still alive, but barely. The Vex are draining their life force to power their ships. Maria felt the tactical knowledge settling in her mind like a downloaded program. She understood now how the dragon's harmonic abilities could be used to disrupt Vex technology, how human engineering could enhance dragon crystal singing to create weapons of unprecedented power. The alliance her species had forgotten was reforming in her thoughts, stronger than before. "We can save them," she said, surprised by the certainty in her voice. "But we'll need help." As if in answer to her words, Wright's radio crackled to life. "Base team, this is Commander Hayes. We've got 3 more human ships dropping out of hyperspace. The cavalry has arrived and they're asking for you specifically, Sergeant Santos." Maria smiled, understanding flooding through her as the crystal's knowledge became part of her. "Tell them we're on our way up, Commander, and we're bringing friends." Echo looked up at her with those galaxy-deep eyes, and for the first time since his arrival, she saw hope instead of fear. "The Alliance is reborn," he said simply. As they made their way back to the surface, Maria's mind was already working on the rescue plan. The Vex had superior numbers and technology, but they had never faced the combined might of dragons and humans working as one. Echo's family would be saved, and the galaxy would learn once again that some bonds could never be broken. The war for freedom was about to begin, and this time they would be ready. Above them, in the space between worlds, dragon songs began to echo through the void as ancient allies prepared to fight together once more. The future had changed forever, and it started with one brave little dragon who refused to let his family disappear into the darkness.